It's time for EdTech Mondays, brought to you by MasterCard Foundation and CC Hub.
Our topic for today is monitoring and evaluation of blended learning models. In June, the discussion on the show centered on the acceleration of blended learning in Nigeria, delving into its significance and the challenges it presents. Blended learning or hybrid learning is an approach to education that combines traditional in-class instructor-led teaching with e-learning content to create a more flexible learning experience. This approach, referred to as a game changer, holds the potential to address some of the critical issues in Nigeria's education system, such as reduced cost on expansion and maintenance of infrastructure, a reduction in national illiteracy, and improved individualized learning by creating spaces for teachers to dedicate more time to small groups and individuals while also allowing them to continue to learn virtually. On the show this month, we aim to examine further how the effectiveness of blended learning can be measured, what metrics can be used, and if Nigeria's educational system is truly ready to adopt this model of learning. Joining me on the show today is Julius Ilori, the founder and CEO of Learner's Corner Education Tech Hub, an innovative organization committed to promoting inclusivity in education through technology. His mission extends to empowering educators with the necessary tools to drive positive classroom change. Learner's Corner is crucial in providing technical support to various educational institutions, including schools, government ministries, and private entities. Julius has also been a prominent member of the Lagos delegation to Helsinki, Finland, where they engaged in productive discussions with the Finnish education technology sector, exploring opportunities for collaboration and knowledge exchange. Welcome on the show, Julius. It's good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Great. So I want to, before we go deep, just let me know what that experience was like when you went to Finland. And I'm asking because I know there's so much talk about how they have almost the best education system in the world. So how was it for you?
Yeah, I think for me it was an eye-opening opportunity. I engaged the tech stakeholders in their own community with our own education community. And I think one interesting thing is the fact that the education system is created up from their own history, from their culture, and it's something that is created from their own kind of engagement, and it's not like a copy and paste model. And I think it's also very interesting that the ecosystem is strengthened by government, the private sector. Like there's a lot of
It's a synergy.
The synergy is so interesting that there is so many opportunities around, them creating like jobs, like in Finland, job opportunity in Finland is tied to education. Like the private sectors are like creating different engagement to see where there's going to be opportunity in the next 20 years, and they are bringing that a bit of that into
how they design their education curriculum. Very interesting. So there are no irrelevant, subjects or courses or things. It is actually what are the problems you're facing and how can our education play an important role.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. So with this, I'm sure you saw so many interesting things around blended learning and how they've been able to make it work for them over there. So from your own point of view, and if you're speaking to a layman, what is blended learning? And why is it getting so much attention? I know COVID happened and everybody realized, oh my God, we can learn this way. So what is blended learning and why all the buzz right now?
Yeah, I think blended learning basically is just the combination of the traditional learning and the online learning. It's just a mixture of both. Like we're encouraging classroom activity and also encouraging it to happen online to ensure flexibility, to ensure access to varieties of content, to also ensure that we are moving in line, with the 21st century demands, not just creating education that is out there, because we really don't know what's going to happen in the next 10 years, in the next 5 years. Why it can become like
obsolete.
CBT. Can even become a CBT exam, because
the way JAMB is now CBT.
The way JAMB is now CBT. So it's important that we are following the trend and we are not just doing something that is not, following the 21st century trend. trend. Yeah.
Great. So with all of this, and I'm asking because I know the Learner's Corner, as you said, you're crucial in providing technical support
Yeah.
to organizations.
Yeah.
How are you able to effectively track, learning using this blended learning approach? Because you've said now that it's the combination of both the traditional in-school
Yeah.
approach and learning online. So how do you track? And I'm asking because there's this constant worry about attrition and fatigue. When it was COVID, everybody and their
online.
grandmother was online,
Yeah, true.
taking one course or the other. But what happened after COVID was people got tired,
Yeah.
the fatigue set in and people started dropping out. And it's a constant worry for people who design, e-learning content. People would join with so much enthusiasm and people would drop out. So people are actually there sometimes, if we just take basic primary 1 to secondary school students. How do you track the effectiveness?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm going to pick this from two different angles.
Okay.
The model of designing the lessons, like the videos. If it's a video-based platform, like how are you creating your lessons, your videos? Are you using storytelling to like teach the concept? Are you using animations and some of these, beautiful, things that can help improve engagement? Are you using that to like pass your message? And also the educators, are they properly equipped to even deliver such lessons? And that's what brings me to lesson design in itself. How do you properly design your lessons? How do you properly track how the students are also watching? What are they watching? A lot of students don't want to stay online for like a long time. So how do you even cut your lessons to like maybe 10 minutes? Because traditionally teachers are meant to be in class for a session maybe 45
40,
minutes 45 minutes, and you want to still teach the same content in 10 minutes, and you want to ensure that this person that is watching wants to watch more. So that's some of the metrics that we look at, when we design, because we also design content, and we have a EdTech solution that is going to go live in maybe a week from now. And the idea is to also ensure that we are Afrocentric. I think that's one of the most interesting things about our work. We have done a lot of engagement, and we discovered that we need to also create something that young people in this community can relate to it. Leveraging our history, our culture, our identity as Black people, and not just copy and paste any kind of cartoons, any kind of animation. I want to use an animation that is very in a native way. I want to use some expressions, using local things young people can relate to it, to drive the message home. So I think that has been something that we have been doing, and it has really been interesting.
So then how do you track, when monitoring and evaluation comes in, what are some of the metrics, what are the indicators we should look out for? Because I'm asking this, taking you back to your time in Finland, right? Is working, and the government is able to adopt it because they've seen evidence. They've seen data. So, and I know I'm really just jumping ahead. Some of the questions I have here is, if we were to make this work for us here in Nigeria and make it globally or widely accepted in the country, there has to be data supporting why we feel it's a great idea. So how do we track? What would be M&A evaluation, mention evaluation for blended learning in Nigeria?
Yeah, so I think how students are engaging, like how many minutes are they spending on the video, and some of this machine language AI have given us the opportunity to be able to see that, like on paper, like you're able to see the trajectory of how this person is learning, the number of time he's spending on this type of video, the number of ways the person is even adding comments. So the engagement can be tracked. Like you can easily track, you can easily see how the person is following up, trying to learn at their own pace, because everybody will not learn at their own pace. For some people, they can easily go online, they watch just 1 minute and they are okay. But somebody can pause, watch again, go back to the video and watch again, take assessments. You're able to also look at it from the angle of assessment, the quizzes, how the person is responding, maybe how many questions has this person failed, which means how do you want to even put the quiz on the platform? Do you want to ensure that the quiz come in between the lessons or after the lessons? Just few questions, okay, you have watched 1 minute or 2 minutes of this video, do you want to respond to this? So these are some of the things we look at, especially in terms of continuous engagement. So, and that can help improve. When you look at the way they are watching the videos, different classes, especially subjects like biology, because we have our biology class is something we have spent so much time on. We really want it to be more engaging. Now, you see the way students are watching biology, you're like, okay, they are seeing live pictures of skeleton. They're able to relate with what they are watching, and they spend more time on it. So that's like an indicator that we look at. How are they watching? Which videos are they watching? And how many minutes are they spending on this video? How are they? What's the comments like? What's the feedback? That information helps us to like track how to improve the work.
Okay, great. So from what you've said right now, it's obvious that with the blended learning approach and the online bit of it,
Yeah.
it can be a making it suit whatever type of thing you're trying to
Yeah,
track. So
true.
you've spoken about how you can track how much time they spend watching the videos,
yeah.
how long it takes to answer questions, how they are interacting, the number
Yeah.
of questions and comments
Yeah.
that are dropped underneath all of this. So my next would now be this. What you've answered now is more, basic, granular.
Yeah.
If we're taking it to a larger scale,
Yeah.
right? Is there a way that the government can use this data to then influence for the large scale adoption? Because what we are looking really is when we get all of this data from M&E
Yeah.
for blended learning systems, right? How will it influence the government to take on this approach? Because some people still don't accept it. There's still a lot of apathy. Some people feel, oh my God, it's going to take our jobs. You're giving us more work.
Yeah.
However, and I said in the beginning, it's something that can solve a lot of the
lot of
problems we have with infrastructure and availability of teachers and the rest. So how does all of this play out for the government?
Yeah, so if I'm going to speak, looking at it from the angle of the government, I'm going to also address it in two different ways.
Okay.
Number one, for scaling, we have the highest number of out-of-school children in the world right now. 1 out of every 5 out-of-school children is found in Nigeria.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so how do we reach, like, scaling education? So people in IDP camps, people in areas where there is kidnapping and all of that, there's nothing we can really do in that situation. But technology gives us the opportunity to scale accessibility to these people. And the other way around is how do we also bring it into the class engagement? Like a few weeks ago, I was in a school in Atlanta. I just returned back from the US doing education research in like few countries and few states in the United States. And I worked in a school in Atlanta, and I discovered how they are leveraging the use of Canva to engage students and teachers. So a teacher can sit somewhere and
It's collaborative.
collaborative.
You're just on a board, and no matter where you are, you're just
You can't
doing,
copy.
yes.
You can't copy your seatmates because it can be different questions.
Yes.
So I saw that, I'm like, oh, okay, this is another conversation. And that's why if government really want to get involved, it's not something they can sit in their office and say, oh, how do we? They have to also try. We have to try. We have to see what is going to work for us. We have to see, and also ensure that there is infrastructure, because all this English that we are speaking, I don't know how many classrooms we have something like this, but most of the schools that I have visited in America and some of the countries I have been to do education research, there is TV, there is screens, there is 24/7 internet. Teachers are on tablets. In fact, it is 3 teachers sometimes to 10 students.
I wish you all can see my face right now.
Yeah, like in Finland, I think it's like 3 teachers to 12 students or 10 students, right? And I'm looking at myself in Lagos, in Yaba, where I see 50 students in a classroom, 100 students in a classroom with one teacher.
And just one teacher.
Yeah, the same thing in America. It's like 2 teachers, and these teachers even have teachers coach.
Yes, and teaching assistants and all of that.
So you can see that it's beyond just we deciding to scale. It has to do with a lot of trying what works for us. How do we try with the little resource that we have, and how can we collaborate with the private sector, like what your organization is doing, to see how these conversations can scale beyond just, people are scared and they are not scared. No. How do we really look at what works for us by looking at the interaction in the classroom, and how do we also scale accessibility to people who don't have access to basic education?
Thank you, Julius, for that amazing response.
You're welcome.
And to my final question, what innovative approaches will drive the adoption of the blended learning approach for us here in Nigeria? How can organizations like yours be supported to share their data for use by the government in decision making for this approach?
Yeah, I strongly believe that there is nothing impossible, especially when we're trying to drive education, because it's very important. It's an important conversation. I would like to also talk about the importance of cultural responsiveness, which is also a part where I saw in developed countries, like, in Finland, like I mentioned, their culture, their language is a component of their education. That makes young people to assimilate at the early stage before they start introducing them to other foreign contents, So it's like a foundation of their education. So I think it's something we also need to talk about as Africans, Nigerians, to say, okay, what exactly do we want to see in a young person in the next 20 years? Can this person contribute to economic development? Can this person be responsible? So how do we ensure that we are not just bringing a copy and paste system to say, oh, education is, the technology there is to scale it, is to make it more interesting. But the foundation of it is the content itself. And now we are engaging that content to the technology to make it more responsive. And what I mean by responsive is not just to start speaking pidgin, like you're using pidgin to teach, or you are, but you're able to also identify some terminologies in local languages. You want to
So creating a syntax around what we have called, the pidgin or vernacular, and incorporating it into our learning models.
Yes. And also in the northern part, we also maybe you want to start looking at local languages like Hausa, maybe not to teach across board, but it's a way to get people's attention. This is the identity. You can't bring a white man to teach a black man in a place where he has never even, he doesn't have an idea.
Yes.
So that has been something I've learned in a short time, that we have what it takes to drive our education. Rather than doing a copy and paste system, it will not solve the problem. So I think I'll wait on that note.
Thank you. It's really interesting because while you were speaking, I was already having pictures in my head, where you can imagine you're in the classroom and your first engagement is with students who are maybe in Burning Kebbi, right?
Yeah.
And you are sharing the screen with them and you're seeing other children who are maybe in Oka, in Anambra, and they are able to learn language, able to see that what they have thought as, barriers or limitation are the same things that they are encountering in other parts of the country, and they're then looking beyond what the problem is to just solve, bring about a solution instead of just dwelling on what the problems can be. So that's what blended learning is opening up the classroom to the world and bringing in opportunities for collaboration and productivity.
So please let me add this to it. It's also important we think of people with disability.
Great.
Because I think the idea of technology itself is the innovation. So the innovation is how we bring people that cannot see to learn. People that are deaf to sign language into our content creation, we know working out, creating something without considering this population, because at the end of the day, education is a right.
Yeah.
It's not a privilege. So everybody must be considered in developing initiative or programs that can, scale education. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Julius.
Thank you so much for having me.
And to you, our listeners, would love to hear from you. Is Nigeria's education system truly ready to support the blended learning approach to learning? Send us a message on WhatsApp on 0703 165 0809. You could also join our Telegram or WhatsApp channels on EdTech Mondays Nigeria to continue the conversation. It's been another amazing episode on this edition of the EdTech Mondays Nigeria show. I'm your host, Chinyelu Akpa. Till next time, it's bye for now.
EdTech Monday is proudly brought to you by MasterCard Foundation and CC Hub.